We got like,
Slow.
that clock is like fast.
No, we got 15 seconds. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is fast. We need to reset that.
We better do something about that. Yeah. New city administrator, you want to fix that? So we all have?
There's a remote.
There we go. We're at 6 PM on the 7th of October. This will commence the Buckley City Council study session. We all have a packet that we picked up. We have handouts on our table, having to do with the admin policies and our developmental code items. So with that, let's begin with the administrative policies.
Okay, so what you have in front of you tonight that was not in your packet are Councilmember Bergerson's comments in black, and then my responses in red. So I'm happy to go over any of those if you would like to start with any questions or comments. I'm happy. Basically, everything you brought forward other than 2.4. And I think 3.8.3.2, we've revised all of them to match your requests. They
Okay.
were very simple, easy changes.
Okay, thank you.
So 2.4 on the flexible work scheduling, that's something I'm happy to open up for discussion of the council.
The only thing
Can you
I
pull
can't
your
remember.
mic closer, please? Thank you.
the only one I would like to see is, and it's, I guess it's not really that important, is instead of having the director be allowed to give the thing, I'd like to see the administrator and like the mayor be able to appoint it.
We actually had that discussion and we are fully comfortable with that.
And okay,
Yeah, with updating the flexible work scheduling to just say approval by city administrator and or mayor and or city administrator rather than department directors.
yeah,
Yep, I'm fine with that. Are there more comments on the flexible?
I thought you did a good job.
Thank you.
I think it was an awesome job and lots of detail. I just, now that the building is big enough, I'm wondering what would be a reason for longer term work at home type situations.
It's not necessarily that. We have some examples such as if an employee gets hurt off
Mhm.
work, such as I broke my leg, I can't drive into work, but I still
Okay.
have the ability to work. Am I allowed to work from home rather than not just doing
Okay.
anything for 4 weeks? Or we do have an employee that works from home in the morning and then drops her kids off at school and then she's in the office the rest of the day.
Okay.
So just to have a policy in place for things like that, it's not necessarily just a blanket policy that gives any employee the right to telecommute whenever they want.
Okay.
That's not the point of the policy. It's just to have something in place so that if these situations do come up,
Mhm.
we have something
Okay,
to go off of.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. I'm happy with that.
Okay.
Just so I'm clear, your question is more related to the teleworking than it is the weather related.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the weather related absences,
Pretty,
yeah, that's pretty clear.
Took it from other cities.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not recreating the wheel on all of these.
I mean, the amount of work though that goes into something like this is huge. And, you know, you touched on a lot of points that could come up. And I mean, some of them, maybe
May
they
never.
won't come up, but it's nice to have a policy in place for it. So yes, any of my comments, like
Oh,
I
yeah,
said,
no,
I did not want you to take it as
Not at all.
criticism. It's just,
Yeah.
we were told.
Yeah,
So
that's
this
what we
and-
asked for.
I read every word as long as it was. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for, some of the things were just a little.
Yeah,
you know.
and I appreciate that
So-
because second, third, fourth set of eyes is always good.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Marsano.
I had one more question. The maximum accrued vacation was raised to 280. Was that negotiated to the union or was that just,
Is that,
I think it was on 2
that's more to reflect what's in the union contract.
yeah,
so they got
Basically,
raised from
it's
2.
to make it consistent. Yeah.
So then, cause then I noticed it says upon separation where, or the employees are cashed out to 240, not to 280? Or is that just there?
That may have been an error.
Should be.
And under,
So that was it.
yeah, and also on the sick leave one, we are doing some more research because it says they can accrue up to 960, but they can only get paid 25% of the 720. And the current union contract is actually at 1780 hours that they can max out at.
Oh.
So we were gonna have some more discussions with staff and department heads and see if we wanted to adjust this to match the union contracts, or how we would move forward with that. So that's why on 2.7 and Denise's notes, you'll see that we have staff needs a little more time to research this one.
Thank you.
So is the vacation max, that's a union contract thing. Is the sick leave cash out a city policy, or is that also a union? Both.
So yeah, we're trying to get them to match up. So not, some employees fall under this and some fall under this. For the ones that are easy to say, all employees fall under this. We're trying to get those to match up.
Keep it consistent.
Well, and I would also like to collect data. I mean, it's pretty obvious that I'm been around, but I'm new to this. I'd like to collect data. I want to see how many current employees are bumping up against this
Get close.
or even getting close. Because if there are, what potentially could happen is if you quit accruing the time, to be honest, most employers are just gonna, well, I can't accrue a sick day, so I'm taking a sick day every month. And that's an issue as well. So I would like a little more time to kind of work with Triva and other staff to kind of digest that and see how that plays out.
I can tell you in my former career, the maximum vacation accrual via CBA was 440 hours. And you got that 100%. Your sick leave, you got 96 hours a year, and over your entire 25 to 30-year career, you're over 2,000 hours. And that was at 25 cents on the dollar, just like this. That's why I asked the question, was it city policy or the CBA? And nobody's going to take 25 cents on the dollar. Everybody needs a knee worked on or shoulder worked on or whatever the case may be.
So I agree 100%. I believe in the CBA, at least for 302. I think that there is an escalation buyout in their contract, I believe. So the more hours that they accrue, the more they get buyout when they retire.
Years of service.
Years of
plays into that.
Yep.
So you could do that CBA wise, not city policy. Well, you could do city
You
policy
do, yeah.
too, but because the last thing you want, and this is the reality, and many people tried to tell my former employer years ago, give them retiree medical, and this won't happen. And they said no, because we have to do it for this group, we have to do it for everybody. But you're going to have people that are going to be gone for like a year because they're not 25 cents on the dollar is not cut.
They're gonna take
But it's
their sick
expensive
leave
to buy
and
them
go
out,
for it.
too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we need to do some more research on this, in my opinion.
So I have another question. So
Okay.
on the 3.8.3.1, the employee classification, temporary employees. So does that mean that a temporary employee can actually work more than 4 months out of the year? Okay,
They can just have to work less than 70 hours if they've worked already 4 months for 70 hours. That's where the maximum comes in.
Okay,
Yes, that's why I
okay.
tried to clarify that.
Okay.
In other months, they still can work. They just have to work less than the 70 hours.
okay. And I was taking it that
Yes.
they could work 70 hours per month. They wouldn't work more than 70 hours per month with a maximum of 4 months out of the
Yes, yeah.
year. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
thank you for clarifying.
Yeah,
Because
no
it
problem.
wasn't.
I had to go to our
The math
finance
wasn't
director
working.
too. I'm like, the math isn't mathing. Help me with this.
Yeah,
one."
what does this mean?
Yes.
Other questions, comments, inquiries on this item of administrative policies?
This was all I had.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Is there anybody
Thank you,
online?
guys.
I mean, it would be, or, whoever, or Emerson is, and, yeah.
Anything, Councilmember Anderson?
Nope, I've got nothing.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Moving on.
Thank you, guys.
Is there, can I look at you about the Mariners game?
Yeah. We good?
Okay.
Okay.
We're good. All right. Thank you all.
Moving on
Thank you,
to developmental code updates. I know that we went through this last month at the study session, and there are some requests and whatnot. And the kind lady in the red sweater is going to come up.
You think I am?
We did add an additional map to this
Oh, you're-
little presentation.
I'm gonna jump in the affordable housing plan.
Yes, so there's a affordable housing map. Is it possible for me to share my screen? This one.
Yeah, if you can give MLS, but it, are the claims, let me.
Oh, okay. It asked me to unmute, so maybe
Okay.
maybe I just need to commit to that.
Okay.
Oh, that's strange. Okay, yeah.
All right, sure.
Wake up.
I'm so tired.
Okay, all right. So, yeah, today we're talking about high density residential. In your packet was the first draft of some code for the HDR low zone. Since we drafted that, we've kind of we've had a bunch of discussions with the PC about potentially changing things around a little bit. So I just kind of wanted to go back to brass tacks a little bit about why we're doing this, what our allocation is, and then talk about sort of the two options that we're proposing. So just as a reminder, these are affordability targets. Those targets are tied to specific housing types, which are apartments, multiplexes, or sort of middle housing, and then single family housing. So we have 307 units that are for single family housing in the city. And those are taken care of in the low density residential that we've talked about a lot up to this point. So these are kind of our assumptions as we go back to the buildable lands analysis that we did when we were working on the comp plan update. And one of the things that we're doing kind of since the last draft that you saw is revising a little bit the density for those different unit types, just to really increase the potential feasibility of actually being able to build some of these things. So we're targeting apartment buildings as 40 dwelling units an acre, 50 to 80% AMI, middle housing 25, less 80 to 100, up to 15. And then single family is closer to 5, it'll serve like 5 to 10. So that's just all to say that we're trying to make these numbers work within the existing buildable lands that you have. Okay. So just quick rundown of that methodology. Sorry. I need to stop advancing. It's lagging on me. Okay. So just as an overview on how we do the buildable lands, this is what we did for the comp plan update. First, we had just identify vacant and underdeveloped parcels. So we exclude all parcels that are fully built out from our buildable lands analysis. Then we do all these parcel deductions, including environmental encumbrances, potential right of way that could be not buildable within the existing lots. And then we apply a market factor, which is sort of roughly supposed to get at how likely it is for those parcels to redevelop. And then after all of that is done, we apply the density that you saw for the different types of buildings. So the map that you have is basically that it's looking at the parcels that you have that are buildable after all of those deductions are taken. So all of the solid filled parcels are not buildable and do not count towards our capacity. So once you do that, we are down to 4.8 buildable acres within the multifamily high, 4.8 in the central mixed use, which also we're only taking 50% of each of those parcels as being residential as opposed to being commercial. So just like having 50% of those parcels be standalone, basically. Which is also an update from what we were doing in the comprehensive plan, just basically based on the feedback that we got that maybe it would be better to have a little bit more housing there than to have more high density housing in the HDR low. And then, sorry, we have 28, almost 29 acres of buildable land in the HDR low. So that's just an overview of what we've done to kind of get to this point. Okay, so then we're just allocating our affordable housing target into those zones. So and this is what you'll see in your option 1, which is our preferred option, is to basically only allow apartment buildings in the central mixed use and in the HDR high in order to really make a dent in that part of the housing allocation, which is the 0 to 50% AMI. And then having more of a mix in the HDR low. The draft language that I sent to you, which was the option 2, excluded single family from the HDR, any of the high density residential, because we were really concerned about basically people just developing single family homes and it not contributing towards your affordability targets. And so now that we've shifted the sort of maximum density up a little bit, it gives you more flexibility to allow more different types of housing in the HDR low. So that's what's shown here. Okay. So any questions at this point or comments? Okay, great. So then just to kind of get into, basically we want your guidance as to how to move forward, but we have sort of 2 different options. This new option, which does not have draft language yet, would basically have no density cap for your apartment complexes. And the reason behind that is that you can't build in Buckley over 3 stories high, and you have pretty stringent parking requirements and off-street parking requirements. And so the building envelope is really, really constrained by adding additional parking spots and by the height. So removing the cap, you would probably only feasibly get around 55 dwelling units per acre at the very maximum. And that would be for studio apartments, which currently require only 1 parking stall. And then other than that, these are all pretty similar to what is in your option 2. So here, just kind of a list of pros. By increasing that density, it means that you can devote more of your buildable lands to other things. So if you cap the density at, say, 25 or 30 dwelling units per acre, which is an option 2, then it just takes up a lot more space, basically. And that leaves you less flexibility about allowing smaller lot residential, single family residential, for instance. So that's that option. And then, oop, and then I just wanted to show you all just kind of an example of this. So this is an apartment building in Seattle, but it's this is a 2-story courtyard apartment, which is kind of what we're targeting for our highest density. This is 112 dwelling units per acre, but that's because it's 0 lot line. So there's absolutely no parking on this property.
Oh.
And so if you were to imagine this in Buckley, it would be taking up a third of or it would be a third of that lot. And then I also just wanted to highlight the difference between allowing or requiring 1 stall per unit versus 2. The darker blue is 1 stall. And then the full area is 2 stalls. So you can see how much space that parking is taking up. So what we heard from Planning Commission last night is that they would potentially be comfortable with moving the 2-bedroom and up to 1.5 stalls per unit. So that's something I would also love feedback on.
What does that mean? What would 1 point?
So.
Cooper is 0.5.
Okay, I mean, but as a okay,
So it would be, you would end up with a whole number, but.
all right,
If you had 40 units, you'd end up with 60
Yeah.
parking stalls.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'd have some shared stalls and then you could have one that's
Right.
assigned to. a
That's
unit
assigned and
person.
then, okay,
And additional for guest parking too, like,
okay.
Yeah.
but the point here is that the parking is a significant constraint, right? If you try to add more units, your parking lot just gets bigger and at some point it doesn't work, so.
Okay.
And the other thing to note is that when we do the buildable lands analysis in another 10 years, and since all of this zoning is kind of new, they're going to rely on the last 10 years of experience of what was actually developed. So that's where the trick is. If we say allow everything from single family to apartments, and we assume that a certain number of apartments are going to get built, but only single family gets built, then it's going to create potential compounding factors down the road. So we're trying to get as close as we can to that while still providing a good range of options. So that's some of what's driving the strategy here. And I think the changes that we've come up with here make sense, and I think respond to some of the feedback that we've gotten.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So last night somebody mentioned something about what about underground parking?
Yeah.
And that didn't sound like that would be feasible based on our
Yeah.
water level and the
water
expense.
table.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
water
there's-
table. So would our city allow like a parking garage, a 2-story garage? Or is that,
You could, I mean, it's up to you if you wanted to allow that. Again, I think it's gonna be probably cost prohibitive.
Really
potentially. I mean,
expensive.
even a 2-story garage is, I'm just guessing, but $40,000, $50,000 a stall. If you go underground, it's
Oh.
80 to 100.
oh,
So the land values have to be extremely high. Basically, it has to be cheaper to build that parking than buy more land. It's like a general rule of thumb.
Okay.
And it would not pencil here.
okay.
So I think that's.
I've never had to worry about that.
Yeah,
so-
but you could do something like carports or some covered parking, would still be like a surface lot, but it could have some of those more individualized options too. But I don't think
Okay.
underground parking would be feasible
No,
or even desirable, right?
or the 2-story
Yeah,
garage.
yeah, and you'd have to usually go to like 6 stories to make, and that's not something we're looking to do.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, and so option 2 is what you had drafted in your packet. This was originally what we had worked through with Courtney a little bit. But the idea was basically to cap out at 25 and 30 respectively, and then allow another 10 units per acre as a density bonus for affordable housing. And then otherwise, it's very, very similar. But because of that, we had, as I mentioned before, we had taken out the single family residential and the HDR low because there wasn't, with those lower densities, the apartment buildings were taking up most of your buildable land. So this, yeah, this gives a little bit less flexibility in that respect. Yeah. Okay. Yes, so that's kind of the rundown of the two options, and what we'd really love is just guidance on a preference on which you all prefer. Yeah.
Just a question for clarification. You said that option one is preferred. Is that planning commission preferred or just,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And then like the real difference is with option one, it's higher density, so the apartment complex to be consolidated to like just a smaller
Right,
footprint
exactly.
rather than like spread out.
Right.
Is this
exactly.
option one here? This one?
So yeah, so that's representing option one.
Okay.
Well, actually, I should say that's not, the bubbles are representing option one. The numbers within the parcels are just the buildable land. So you could multiply that by any density.
Yeah, the big difference is we assumed more apartment development in the central mixed use, and we assumed more single family in the HDR low.
Mhm.
That was kind of the feedback that we got. And
Yeah.
again, it doesn't mean that people have to build it or the city's on the hook to build it. It's just that there's capacity for it.
Okay.
So it's just another way to show compliance, and I think we'd be in good position to do that.
And then you mentioned last night when you and I were talking that we could put into the codes that those that are all along 112th there, in the red, that we could have in the code that the single family homes
Yeah.
that are
Mhm.
currently there
Mhm.
can,
Conforming and
Could
not be
be
restricted.
conforming.
Yeah, absolutely. We could-
That's already the case.
Oh,
In
okay.
yeah, in the code, well, we've changed the name, so it's not commercial flex. Historically, it was general commercial in that area, I believe. But single family homes were exempted.
okay.
Yeah.
And they would be able to make additions to their homes
Yes,
and
yeah. I think it's
sell
up
their
to
homes.
50% additions of the appraised value.
Okay.
Yeah. We could
of
take
the
another look at
improvements.
it too. I mean, you could be as lenient as possible.
Yeah.
Because there's kind of two issues. There's like additions and modifications. I think that one's pretty easy to be lenient on. And then there's the restrictions, like if it was destroyed in a fire or something.
Mhm.
Typically non-conforming rules don't allow you to do that, but you could write an exception, so it'd be sort of conforming in perpetuity.
Okay, I just don't want to restrict those homeowners
Yeah.
that are currently there, living in their homes.
Yeah.
To devalue their property basically by.
Yeah.
Making their homes.
We'll take another look at that and just make sure it's sufficient.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, and we're going into the non-conforming code for the self-storage already, so.
And how does that affect if somebody wanted to buy a parcel in one of these higher densities and build a single family home that wasn't already there?
They wouldn't
That's
be
a
able
no-go.
to,
Okay.
yeah.
In the low, they would though, the
In
high
the-
density low, they would now be able to
Okay.
do that, but I
Yeah.
think that is HDR allow single family now, the high?
Yes.
Okay.
But it allows it on large lots, so I believe HDR right now is 8,600 square foot lots, and the NMU, the neighborhood mixed use, is 8,000, so it's really large lots, and that's why you see those 8,000 square foot lots on Ryan Road.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that's something that in the not too distant past that folks, and I'm not interested in restricting that. People would buy a parcel that they could afford, build a home on it, knowing that they're going to build for their kids and grandkids or
Yeah.
an investment, whatever that looks like. That's
Yeah.
just the kind of the old school way of
Yeah.
build out.
So maybe one thing we should check if there's any existing small lots that haven't been developed yet.
I
Because if
think,
something's already been parcelized, we would want to make sure that.
yeah,
Single family, which we could check.
I'm pretty sure that they were all captured by the buildable lands if you. But yeah, we should look at the lots that are south of, on the south side of Ryan Road.
It generally doesn't pencil. You're looking at paying more for the parcel than you wind up building the house for, but people that are thinking 20 years down the road for their kids or grandkids,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, we'll take another look at that.
thank you.
Yeah, but generally, pretty sure. Yeah, there may be some of the high density residential at the intersection that, yeah,
Yeah.
could fall in that.
Okay, well, we can find a solution.
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah, definitely.
Any other questions, comments on that? Item. That's where it's on.
Well, I think I like option one because it kind of captures, there's a guy on Ryan Road. I can't exactly remember, but he's got a property next to the Blueberry Farm, and by doing this one. The way we're gonna do it before would devalue his property, and this one at least makes his property valuable, so I feel like we're not. Throwing anybody to the wolves if we go with option number one.
And that you guys are looking for a kind of a bobblehead.
Yeah.
Option one or two, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is, we
Gobbles.
So we can advance it to the next stage and then
Yep.
come back.
yeah,
One's
But-
fine.
okay.
okay,
One's good.
One,
Ron, you got a. Option one or two,
One,
okay.
Cheers. All right, great. And then, yeah, I think that's most of what we were gonna discuss. The other question is whether to move forward with trying to require some level of alley access for that, for those properties. And there are a lot of different ways to do that in terms of having perhaps a threshold of a certain number of units on a property that then triggers requiring an alley. But I wanted to kind of give you all some pros and cons to having the alleys just to, just so we're kind of all on the same page. Because there are some cons in terms of limiting the amount of buildable area of the lots, you know, if you're adding usually two additional right of ways or you're multiplying the number of right of ways. And so it kind of, it can make a lot of sense as your lots get smaller or as your density increases to put cars on the back of lot. It can also reduce the number of driveways by combining all of that into a single alley. But there are also costs to the city and or if it's privately held to the HOA. So kind of wanted to get guidance from you all in terms of pros and cons. I mean, from what you all said during our visual preference survey, the preference was for alleys, but I just kind of want to get a sense of how strongly we feel about them.
Yeah, the couple issues, I mean, when you start to add density in middle housing, it becomes more of an important issue. Also now with the accommodations for accessory dwelling units, that can be helpful. So there could be some situations where it's optional and there could be some, as Sarah said, the threshold to require it, or you could simply not require it. But I think the thing that we would advise you to try to avoid is more dense housing with like a driveway every 2 feet. It takes
Yeah.
all the street parking away. It's,
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah,
yeah, for kids and people walking, because there's more vehicle potential conflicts aesthetically.
especially
it's-
if you have two.
Aesthetically, it's really,
Two stalls per-
can be nice, but there's more maintenance
Mhm.
cost potential, and also a lot of alleys may have your own experience.
I mean, either way, I just know when you add pavement in the front, pavement in the back, you add costs, right? And
Yeah,
if you're trying to keep it low income or
yeah,
affordable, Just Craig's the price of everything out, but
Yeah,
I just think whatever looks good.
seems pretty efficient. If you're using it as a shared driveway and then your front doesn't have a driveway. You know, you have less of a backyard, but also the alleys could be a nice place for kids to play and kind of social spaces too. It also, again, can help if you want to add an ADU, maybe don't, you know, because if your lot is narrow, you might not have access to the back from the side. If you'd like us to come back with some more information or photo examples and talk through it, we could.
Yeah.
But if you have any thoughts tonight, we'd open those too.
I personally would like to see some examples. I think the key to that is all in the standard, the alley standard. What does that look like?
Yeah. Yeah, and it'll also probably become a little bit more clear once we have a sort of minimum lot size for your townhouses, because once that frontage gets narrow, then your driveway becomes the front of the dwelling, basically, so. That can also be kind of a.
I think
Good
I'm
point.
generally pro alley, but would also like to see some visuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we could do that and do some sketches on just some of your typical lot sizes and what it looks like if you had an ADU or not.
Yeah.
And there's lots of good examples in Buckley and Needham Claw.
Yeah.
Love alleys.
I think it would be good for recycle and garbage pickup.
Yes.
But,
For that.
but I don't feel strongly either way.
Privately maintained too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There you go.
We do have
I
enough,
think that's fine, right?
enough streets in our city that our city takes care of. So if we're putting multiple alleys in, I would like to have them
Yeah.
privately maintained as well.
Yeah, that's probably cheaper than maintenance of every individual driveway or, you know, comparable, I would
Yeah.
think.
And we can, well, we'll talk to you, Chris Banks, more about improvements or, you know, pervious alley, because alleys can also be pervious.
That's,
Yeah.
that's right where I was going.
Yep.
You know, hard surface, one or the other, concrete or asphalt. No more grading at alleys for the city crews.
No.
There's.
More gravel.
No more gravel,
Yeah, no gravel.
straight lines,
Impervious-
not
Yeah.
curved.
Yeah. No traffic calming in the alleys.
Yeah, right.
No sewers down them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, and then the last thing that we added to your packet is an example of a PUD code, which is, basically what we were thinking would be sort of a second option for the, HDR low. And the idea behind that is really to provide, or sort of incentivize developers to provide a mixture of housing types. So you'll see on page 4 of that, there's an intent graphic that shows a potential development and is a little bit more prescriptive about sort of the percentage of different types of units. So we could try to come up with a way to incentivize a development like that, to say smaller lot, single family, as a way of creating more of a mix of different housing types in one place, which could be beneficial for having people age in place, et cetera. So wanted to get your feedback on whether we should progress on that as well.
Insight, questions, comments on that topic?
I'm fine with. I thought it looked okay.
Yeah, it would be something that would be optional, and it tends to be geared towards larger projects, you know, requires a little bit more thoughtful, just site planning, and then basically it's like you give the developer or the applicant some flexibility, and then they provide something that you would consider as sort of better than what you might get in your standard development code. So it's a little bit of a give and take process. But it can be helpful for larger projects to deliver not just one housing type, but multiple housing types in a single project. And there can be incentives with it. So that was kind of our thinking there.
Any other questions or comments on that? Again, this is all for us to be compliant with our comp plan. And what is the unfunded mandate from those governmental agencies above us to comply.
Which. So on the comp plan, are we trying to have it done by the end of the year? Like coming up soon?
Yeah,
To be compliant?
We'd be okay if it got extended at this point. I mean, there are cities like Seattle that haven't even adopted their comp plan. We've already had Buckley's is certified. You guys are in good shape. So if it needs to take a little bit longer, I think that's fine. You know, certainly we could try to get it done by the end of the year, but I don't envision any big compliance issue.
Yeah, so Chris and I were discussing yesterday, moving the hearing that we have for planning commission that was scheduled for the 27th, but none of the noticing went out, so we're thinking maybe doing that the first week of November. So that would push our 60-day reporting period for commerce back just past the beginning of the new year. But that would allow you all to have one more opportunity to look at what we come up with in the next 2 weeks before that public hearing at the beginning of next month.
And we really want to do it one time
Yeah.
right. I said this last night, we don't want to do something that we're knowingly gonna regret. So it's important to take our time on this and do it right. In my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
So we could
Anything
work.
else?
I was just gonna say, we could work with Chris and Chris to get an updated schedule with all of that and when you'll get materials.
Yep.
Perfect. Thanks for the feedback.
Thank you very much. You.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Time for Mariners game.
Your boss.
Okay, we're gonna move into council comments, go around the room like we always do. Anybody have anything? Councilmember first.
So I went down to the drop off area for the bridge today and it's still a mess. I mean, it's dangerous down there. I see the signs, which are awesome. No parking, just drop off, pick up, and there's people that just sit there and they are waiting and waiting and waiting. And there's people walking in the road. There's still vehicles that have either their back end or their front end sticking out in the road. It's still crazy. It's a good thing this is a temporary.
We're near the end.
How are we doing as far as the bus transit?
I'm still waiting on numbers from Pierce Transit as far as riders.
Mhm.
I reached out yesterday twice and they're working on getting us those numbers. I don't know. As soon as I get them, I can send out an email.
Cause it's almost like if we just restricted no parking down there at all, then maybe they would have to take transit. I mean, they would have to, they could walk a little further, but, yeah. I
Well,
just think it's
we're,
dangerous down
the math on the Washtenaw Bridge puts us, they're not gonna update the schedules. Thursday, we have a call. Last Thursday, they told us they've exceeded the 50% mark.
Good.
So
Good.
in very general terms, until we get some, and they're very open about the fact that they're gonna tighten up the schedule. As we get closer, they can give us some more firmer dates, but I don't want to go out on a limb here, although it's very loosely spoken. I mean, it looks like in the next couple weeks, they should be wrapped up. They're putting up the plastic to paint. All the structural members, I'm told, are in place. I haven't confirmed that, but I'm really hoping like a lot of folks, hope is not a plan, but it's that they're going to under promise and over deliver and get it done. So I hear you about the parking. I wanted to change this since day one. Also the Pierce Transit piece. Trying to find out. Pierce Transit, it was very clearly communicated to them on day one when we went for a quick little ride. Dave's here. Dave was with us. We went for a ride on the bus. It was very clearly communicated to them that they really missed the boat as far as the layout. So we've been talking about what does that look like? First off, how many people are riding it? Do we make changes if we're only 2 weeks out or even 3 weeks out or a month out? Same with the parking. Do we need to upset the apple cart? Just try and get this people's behavior, while it is abhorrent, some of it. We haven't had any, somehow by pure miracle, we haven't had anything
accidents?
bad happen down there.
Thank goodness.
So if we change, we're gonna be pushing rope uphill. We're gonna be moving. Now new behaviors over here. And so we're very hopeful that WashDOT is their contractor is ahead of schedule and we can expedite this because the rains are gonna be hammering us this weekend, it sounds like.
Great.
Yeah, after that meeting Thursday, can you send us an update? What came out of it?
Yeah, and
Even
just,
even if it's like not concrete, just
yeah, no, absolutely.
I
We'll-
can do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
It's,
I tell you what, I have been absolutely shockingly impressed with WashDOT's updates on everything. You got the 167 thing. They came out yesterday and said it won't be done till early next year. They've provided updates on this stuff and we've had, like you, Mayor said, we've had good weather and the rain's coming Friday. So I think that is precipitated their ability to be able to get this far and where we're at. But I'm shocked at the amount of information coming out of WashDOT because this state government I'm not a fan of at all, but there we are.
yeah, and to your point, Brandon, yes, we'll get an update out. I know there's been a lot of frustration on my part as well. With what's gone on through our lovely Facebook and other cities who will remain nameless. And certain individuals putting out updates that WashDOT has been unbelievably clear, and we've all been, for the most part, in agreement that we want them to put out the messaging. This is their baby, this is their project, and there's people that keep trying to circumvent that and are circumventing it. So we'll it's not a race to see who has the information first, but some people feel that that's what they need to do. But WashDOT has been doing a good job, and we're looking forward to them getting that constriction down to they don't want to tell us they're going to open it early. That's for sure. No.
Saving grace that they ran into our bridge first, I guess,
Right. They're on the time. There's, yeah.
you know.
We'll be doing good when that one opens up.
Well, I don't understand why we have people driving these rigs. The one that hit ours it was a vac truck and had the equipment up, and the person on 167 was a dump truck driver and had his so what do you call it?
It was a roll-off truck, I believe, and he had the boom up.
The
Same thing,
boom up.
hydraulic equipment,
Yeah.
like a dump truck in the air.
Yes.
And I could go into great detail, but I won't, about why we are in this place in our society. And it has a lot to do with automatic transmissions and putting anybody in a truck that thinks
Yes.
that they can drive. So I'll leave it at that.
But I agree with Councilmember Bergerson. Thank goodness that it was August 18th and not September something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Mhm.
Anybody else? I've got one thing. I mentioned it last council meeting or maybe last study session. Left turns out of the Glacier Middle School parking lot. We had a student hit last week trying to cross from the south to the north on C Street in the crosswalk. We all know what the sun looks like in the morning. when it's very low in the sky, when it's rising, and when we're coming east, somebody coming out of the lot at GMS from dropping off. Thankfully, the young man wasn't hurt bad, but he was hit there. We need to restrict left-hand turns out of there in the morning, where the drop-off time and when school starts, and in the afternoon. And yes, some won't comply. And well, if something were to happen, they could be ticketed. Or if one of our officers was, in the area, they could address it. But at least make it safe, and we need to also enhance that intersection at Main and C.
So are you guys opposed to painting it green, the crossings?
Not at all.
And adding, and adding the flags, the crossing flags?
Absolutely, that's outstanding.
No, let's, or Chris, let's have a meet with the superintendent, and I've noticed, and I'll just throw this out there as another. For homecoming parade and stuff, there was just a school employee, or I assume was a school employee, just standing out there in the middle of the crosswalk
Yes.
on C. Telling people, no, you can't turn in here
Yeah.
unless you're a parade float or
Yeah.
whatever they would have set up there. Something like that, if whether it's a school employee or a city employee, whatever, we figure that out with the school district for those times and keep traffic moving in a orderly fashion and people slow down, of course, as well.
I think painting it green, all of the above, what everybody's just said, painting it green with the flags, meet with the school district. I don't know what they can contribute to it, but that is an area where it's no different than Heather Lane over there at Elk Ridge and all the other things that we've had.
Like you're talking about meeting with the school district, I don't know, didn't they help us pay part for the crowd, the flashing
They
light
did.
down there?
Mhm.
Maybe we could talk to them about splitting like a flashing one for there or something.
Well, there you go.
But
Yeah, if we can keep the traffic moving in,
Yeah,
like
those
you
are-
said, no left turns.
Those are
Just-
typically not used. I don't know if they
Right
can. I
at-
talked to Dom, but right at the intersections, those are usually mid-block crossing.
Yes, mid-block,
Yeah,
because it's getting your attention
Right.
before you get there.
right.
It's not so much a speed
No,
thing
makes
there,
sense,
it's a
like-
visibility thing.
Yes.
Is
And
Dom
we
on?
need people to be,
Oh.
the kids to be more visible, and we just, if people aren't making a left-hand turn, that makes things flow better.
I mean, all they have to do is make
Is
a
that a
right-hand turn and go around the block. If they
It's
want to
east-
go east on
from
Main Street.
there to school, so it's at the schools.
It's at the, yeah.
I mean, as much as I didn't love the green at first, the bright green crosswalks are much easier to see and people
Yes.
will, people, even even where we have all the crosswalks where the district office is, that paint goes away so fast.
It does.
And the green, just like you.
One,
it's-
it lasts 3 or 4 years.
And
too.
it's much more visible in that funky intersection with cars coming off of 410 and either turning onto River or, and there, it's busy. Like
Mm.
that intersection is very busy too.
And we can even look at, of course, it's much more expensive to raise it, put a dome in there
Oh.
and paint it green, but that's for more longer term things we can work with the school district.
Yeah.
Let's do this together and we'll split the cost.
Sure.
Yeah. Green is much more visible
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
green, city just repainted by Wally's
Mhm.
this summer, and it's like 5 years ago was done the first time.
Right,
And
right. It lasts, it's expensive, but it lasts.
It's got the
Yeah.
glass shards or whatever
Yep.
they put
Yeah.
in, the reflective.
Any other comments? Anything?
Mhm.
See nothing. We have a regular council meeting next Tuesday, so I don't know what the real time is. We'll just say what I'm looking at.
6:53.
It's 6:53 on the 7th of October. This ends the Buckley City Council study session.
Don't talk about the.
I am not going
Right
to.
now.
Better run.
I am not